Well, hi again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. This is the 2026 NFL Draft Prospect Show, along with Joey Clinkscales. I'm Harper LeBel. Vincent Turner is not able to be with us here today. He's on assignment, but he will be back next week. We've only got 2 weeks, guys, before the draft, and we're going to talk about one of the big defensive linemen that everybody is going to want to have. There's only a couple of them that are this big, this strong, this fast, and this coordinated. And Lee Hunter's that guy out of Texas Tech. And Joey, when we talk about this young man, he's out of Alabama, Blount High School. He's one of the top 3 or 4 defensive linemen in the state. He ends up going to Auburn. He has his first year there. He redshirts, and then he goes with Gus Malzahn after he loses his job to Central Florida. So he goes to Orlando. He's there for a couple years, and then he ends up at Texas Tech. He's got some great numbers in terms of how he's able to put pressure on the quarterback. One of the things that you have to have as a defensive lineman is the ability to absorb a double team. And if you do so in a way where either the guard or the center or the guard and the tackle can't get to the linebacker because you're there and you're keeping them from doing that, you are a godsend. Ray Lewis, Mike Singletary, any inside linebacker that you can think of will give you lots of gifts for your Christmas present to put under your tree because you allow them to make tackles because they aren't getting hit by guards or tackles or centers. So, Joey, first and foremost, Lee Hunter, big body guy out of Texas Tech. Texas Tech had a great season this past year. Give me some thoughts about his above average, the height, the weight, his speed, his span, everything that you are impressed with.
Well, he's not the most athletic guy. Let's start there. You love his size, you love his strength. Those are things that are apparent right away. I mean, he's like 6'3.5". He was measured at 318, but on tape he looks like he's probably closer to 325. So I'm sure he lost weight to work out. But he's a guy that you really like. Not 33 and a quarter inch arm length, which is good for an interior guy, and you can see him play that way out of his stance. He's not a twitchy player for an inside player, but what he does is he plays hard. He can get to the passer if he's got enough time. He plays strong versus in the run game versus double teams, and you do see him defeat a block quickly, get upfield, and make a tackle behind the line of scrimmage. So you do see those things in him, and the reason why he'll get paid is not as a pass rusher, which I think he only had like 2.5 sacks this year. But he'll get paid because of the very things you said. On first and second down, he can keep those linebackers clean. He can defeat a guard or a center and make a tackle behind the line of scrimmage. He's probably not going to be great laterally running sideline to sideline, but in the short area in that box, he'll be great. He ran a 5.1840, which is in today's world is fairly average to below average. His vertical jump was 21.5. So none of those numbers are super impressive. I got a vertical jump of 8.4. So none of those numbers are super impressive. But just to watch him play with his strength and his leverage and his long arms, those are the things you really like about this player. And those are the things that if he can show that on the NFL level, will really get him paid a lot of money.
Well, he goes to Auburn. He ends up at Texas Tech, and in between, he's at Central Florida. So 3 or 4 different coaches have been with him. Obviously, the head coaches, defensive coordinators, defensive line coaches. Every one of them is going to say, hey, you're a big guy, and we need you to play 50 or 60 plays per game, not just 20. Is there any fatigue factor that comes in that shows on film where, hey, you get him tired in the third and fourth quarter, he's not the same player?
Yeah, well, nowadays they don't play that many plays anymore. They used to play that, but with NIL and all that's going on and other guys that on the rosters they have to play, none of those guys play that. They usually play in a rotation. So he'll go into the league in the same way. He'll go to the league in a rotation, no matter if he's a starter or he's the backup. But the thing you see about him is when he's in, he plays fairly hard. There are times when he could play harder, but he's a guy that, again, that will absorb double team blocks. He does that really good. You see him play with leverage with his hands. He's a little high at times, but they all are. But you see him lock out with his hands, which is something you want to see him do to control the blocker. to get upfield or to do that so on a game or a stunt, somebody can come behind him and get upfield. So you see all those traits that really make a good defensive lineman, which is why, and he's played in a couple systems. I'm sure when he left Auburn and went to Central Florida with, I guess it was Gus Malzahn, that they probably played the same defensive system that he ran at Auburn. He played it at Central Florida. So I'm sure that was a comfort level for the coach because you had a veteran guy there who could also teach the younger guys the system that we're playing and how we're doing things. So all those things were good. Yeah.
Two things that come to mind with the run game, if you can allow me to just stay on that a little bit. For him, depending on a 4-3, 3-4, if he's an A or B gap guy, talk about the significance of just, taking away the dive or those early plays that you want to run in the middle. We can't do it against him in the middle because he's not easily moved, and now it's 2nd and 9. Talk a little bit about, how important that is for him to be able to plug a middle, and especially on a 1st or 2nd down, no matter what the quarter is. But, from a coaching perspective, what does that do for a defensive coordinator and the offensive coordinator on the other side? We can't do that well against this guy.
Well, the beauty of it is he can play in a 3-4 or 4-3 system. Okay, so in a 3-4, he'll be a nose. So he'll be over the center. He'll be controlling the center, but he'll also be responsible for both for the A gap. So to his left and his right, it'll be his responsibility to control those gaps. In a 34, as a 3-tech or as a defensive tackle, he'll be responsible from the guard. He'll be pushed that guard inside. So he'll control that guard. He'll either beat him outside or inside, depending on the play call and the scheme and what have you. But in both instances, he'll face double teams. He'll either in a 3 technique, it'll be the guard and the tackle that'll probably come down on him. In a 34, when he's a nose, then he'll probably face a double, not only from the center, but from either guard. Okay, so there are a lot of ways to play that technique when someone's coming at. Some coaches teach you to go down on one knee and control it. Some coaches teach you to lock that first guy out, slide your hip over so you can create leverage. And what you're doing is you're holding that point for one of your teammates to get through and make the tackle. He's strong enough and he's got enough length to control the line of scrimmage, to reset the line of scrimmage, to displace that guy that's in front of him. And while he may not make the tackle, he's got the strength to push that guy back into the backfield. So he allows you some versatility to do different things on defense because of his physical strength.
Yeah, I didn't see a bench press from a combine or maybe at his pro level, at least not yet. So forgive us, folks. We don't have all the information, but you're mentioning that just he's country strong. He's a big, strong kid, and yes, that is so critically important. One of the things I wanted to ask you, Joey, is do you see a lot of trap blocking where you get a different angle on him, try to move, or a wham block from a tight end to go in motion at the snap of the ball? Gronk was one of the few guys that I know that could really get away with doing something like that. He's not going to defeat you to where you're on your back, but he's going to keep you from making the tackle. Is a wham or a trap block something that you see as a weakness that Lee Hunter has to face, or has he really done well enough in what limited tape that you seen to where that's not going to be a factor for him?
Well, he's done that enough on tape, but however, so from that standpoint, those blocks that you're talking about, a lot of time the quarterback is in the center. They're quick hitters, and you don't really have a lot of that in college football anymore. So he's not going to what he didn't face was some of that in college. He will face more of that in pro football as the quarterback is on the center, and some of those dive plays will happen a little quicker. Not necessarily with a fullback, but with the running back being closer to the line of scrimmage. So those things will happen. So not so much in college did he see a lot of wham blocks from that standpoint, but he may see more of that, especially if he's in a 43 system.
Well, big body guy, we mentioned the run blocking. What do you think he needs? Is he got to develop a second move? He's obviously going to be a bull rush guy, but going against a guard or a center one-on-one, what do you see that's a strength for him? And then are there any weaknesses in terms of, does he play too high sometimes when he gets tired? Does he need to develop a second or third move? What are your thoughts here in terms of the pass rush?
Well, I think they all play high, so we can for 99% of these guys we can just check that off. They play high, but for this kid, I think he's got to work a little bit on his get off, on his initial quickness. Sometimes he's not the quickest guy getting off the ball on the snap, so I think he's got to work on that.
Okay.
He's got really good hands and he's got some strength. Yeah. He's got to develop a second move, depending on what they're asking him to do, and maybe at Texas Tech. They didn't ask him to do that. They just asked him to do the things he could do, which was control the line of scrimmage, shoot gaps when needed, displace the offensive center or guard with his strength at the line of scrimmage. So, but the things that stand out for me are he needs to improve the foot quickness, because the foot quickness is I'm not going to say a detriment to him right now, but it's something that has to improve. And again, just playing lower like they all do, because he's got enough strength to shoot the gap. The things he can do is, he's a big, strong guy. He can get movement on the line of scrimmage. He's got to do it more consistently. So his overall level of consistency has to improve. His stamina has to improve. But he's a physically tough guy. He's physically impressive. He's got to figure out what the play weight is going to be, and that's determinant on the system or the scheme he'll be playing in.
One of the things that Drew Brees used to love about his center and his two guards is that they always left the middle of the throwing lane open for him. They were really good at protecting guys like Lee Hunter and keeping him from getting to them. He didn't worry as much about the edge rushers coming from the side. He kind of move around them. But boy, if the pocket collapsed after he had to move around, and a big guy like Lee Hunter was hunting and doing his job, that was something that a guy like Drew Brees used to hate. Couldn't stand it. So he was always telling the coaches, hey, pay these guys up front. Does Lee have that hunting technique to where if things start to break down around him, where he can find that quarterback and have the speed to be able to get a guy like Drew Brees and bring him down to the ground on a third and long? He's not going to get right up the middle in terms of surprising many people. But on a stunt where a linebacker or somebody else comes behind him, you've already pointed that could be a real determining factor, especially if he can kind of do a little grab and do a jersey pull and not get called for it and allow a linebacker to make a big play. What are your thoughts on that, Joey?
Well, I don't know if the speed factor will be there for him, because that's not one of the strengths of his game. But he is a guy that in the right situation, he can push that guy. He can push the center or the guard into the quarterback's lap. And all quarterbacks hate guys in their lap, in their throwing lane. If it's coming from the side, they can deal with that. All quarterbacks like to be able to step up in the pocket. If you can prevent that quarterback from stepping up in the pocket, then you have something. So every defensive coordinator, they want edge guys, but they want guys on that defensive line who can push, who can reset the line of scrimmage and push those guys in the quarterback's lap. So he has the ability to do that. So first and foremost, he needs to go in and show that he's physically strong enough. He can play with leverage. He can play lower. He can get under center and guards pads and play with enough hip roll and lower body strength to push those guys into the quarterback. And he's shown that before. But it all starts with initial quickness, his ability to be the first to make contact, to play with violent hands, to get those long enough arms on guys and start pushing them back.
Yeah. Well, Texas Tech had a fantastic year. They end up really improving and enhancing their defense. Lee Hunter was obviously a part of that. Plugging up the middle on run and on pass plays was something that he was held accountable for. He's way above average in terms of his height, his weight, his span. His 40 could be a little bit better, but obviously a guy that you're asking, you thought he was playing around 330. He's a big boy, and everybody needs one of those types of guys. Joey, give me some final thoughts here before we leave.
Really good player. How far he can go will be determined on his conditioning, his work ethic. Again, especially for big guys. Big guys is kind of hard from a weight perspective. But again, I thought he played this year at about 325 in that area. He went to the combine and he weighed 318. I thought he was a little heavier than that on tape, but he's got some ability. He has a chance to go in and be a rotation guy that has a chance to develop into a starter. He looks tough. He looks physical. He plays hard most of the time. He can play lower like they all can. Every guy that comes on here, I could talk about playing low, but you do see him play with length. He can strike. He can strike with his hands. He can play with leverage at times, and he can get movement at the line of scrimmage. So those are the things you like. And again, he can play in a 3-4 or 4-3 from a scheme perspective. So those are the things you really like about this player.
Well, Lee Hunter is who we're talking about here, the defensive tackle out of Texas Tech University. He's 6'4", 320-ish pounds. He's a senior. He's out of Mobile, Alabama. He ended up going to Auburn. He was at Central Florida for a couple of years, and then he ends up at Texas Tech and helping them get into the college football playoff and be Big Ten champions. An important part of their roster and their defensive change was based on this young man. So we're delighted to talk about him here at 100 Yards of Football. So for Joey Clinkscales, I'm Harper LeBel. Vincent Turner was not able to be with us today, but he will join us next week. And we only have a couple of weeks before the NFL draft itself, and we will have a special show on that. We want to ask that you, if you like and enjoy the show, please like and subscribe, tell a friend, and be a part of the draft show that we're going to have as well in a couple of weeks. So for Joey Clinkscales, I'm Harper LeBel saying thank you for tuning in, everybody. We appreciate it. Have a fantastic rest of your day and enjoy it thoroughly.